Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Power Book 4 Force, Season 1, Episode 1, the premiere, the episode we have all been waiting for because we've all just been wanting to see a show about Tommy for pretty much years on end at this point.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Tommy's such a beloved character. Everybody loves him. He's such a badass. It's been a long time since we've had him as more of a focus of the show. You know, we did see him in season 1 of Power Ghost, and now we've got a whole show of him. And it's just nice to see Joseph Sikora back on screen. We've
Yeah.
spoken to him in the past, done interviews with him over on our website. He's just a really good guy. And it's so good to see him, getting his own show.
Here is a list of things that I would watch Joseph do as Tommy. Go to a fast food drive-thru, do taxes, practice
Okay.
knitting, Tommy can make anything interesting. I love the Tommy character so much. He's just such a fascinating dude that you don't see on TV all that often.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had really high expectations going into this spin-off. I
Yeah.
mean, Raising Kanan is a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. This past season of Power Book 2, really good. We just got off a really good finale. We have that up here
Yes.
at our YouTube as well. But Tommy is Tommy. So the bar is set very high for him.
Well, before we go further here, we will talk all about Tommy, some of the new characters that we've met,
Yeah.
Chicago, the setting. Hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we'll be here all season. We got to talk about the Tommy spinoff. And, of course, we want to hear what you guys have to think. So, stick around, hit that button, and, let's get right into this.
All right, so I really enjoyed how this all started off. I'm glad that we caught up with Tommy right where we kind of left off with him, that he was leaving town and he was on his way to LA, and having him have that moment in the car where all the things that are really just weighing on him, the debts, the mistakes he made, the people he's lost, was just piling up and weighing, and then he stopped the car and he just had that moment to kind of just let it all fall on top of him so that he could then move forward. Really good. Like, the opening was a 10 out of 10. It was so good.
Yeah, and we know that Tommy doesn't really process grief and loss and pain in sort of the same way that everyone else can or
No.
does. So just to see him have a little bit of a relatable moment to, I think, what a lot of us would sort of feel and express, I think it was important for us to kind of get that before we could start to move forward. And the timeline here to me is really interesting. So we know that at some point, Tommy goes back to New York to deal with Tariq and all the stuff in Power Book 2. I mean, I guess presumably this show, at least right now, is taking place a little bit before the end of Ghost Season 1. I don't know when or if we're going to catch up or see that addressed on this show at all.
Yeah, it's hard to know. We're only one episode in, so.
I will say this. The episode was a little slow at times. It felt like it took some time to kind of get going, but I guess it kind of was going to have to because there's so much on this show we don't know. It's a new setting. It's like a totally new cast.
It's a completely new cast. It's in a new city. It's all brand new. I mean, this episode, I think I was expecting, because it's Tommy, that
Yeah.
it was just going to be like off the wall bonkers. And they did have some moments in there that were like that
Yes.
because it's Tommy. But there was a lot that they needed to set up. I mean, they introduced us to a ton of new people. So it really felt like this was setting the scene. Who are the players? Who, is going to be involved in Tommy's decision to no longer go to LA. He's decided he wants to stay in Chicago, even though nobody wants him there. And, how it's going to all play out, because he's made a lot of enemies in a very short period of time.
Tommy's whole decision making here was hilarious to me because it feels a lot like, when you're like a rambunctious teenager and there's a bunch of people that are being like, oh, you can't stay out past your curfew. Then the teenager is like, well, now I'm staying out even later. It feels like Tommy because everybody was like, oh, you need to leave. And he was just like, okay, watch this. Not only am I going to stay, but I am going to make all of you miserable in the process.
Oh, this whole episode was Tommy pushing back and being like, you can't tell me what to do. Oh, I can't park her? Yes, I can. Oh, I have to leave town? No, I don't. It was just a lot of that. But the biggest reveal from this is that Tommy has a half brother. Yeah. And I truly didn't see that coming, but it seems like Kate has somebody else out there, and he was raised by his father. And his father told him that Kate was dead, just like we met Tommy's grandmother, who he was also told that she was dead. So it was a very interesting moment, and they did exchange numbers. And I wonder how much his grandmother being there and being alive, and then having this half brother, having like legitimate family who's not Kate, is playing into this. We saw him take that moment where he crumpled up the phone number, throw it in the garbage, and then he pulled it back out and was just like, oh man, kind of cursing at himself. Because I think he knows that even though he's trying to let things go and be like, I can be by myself, I don't need anybody, that now it's like, oh, well, you have two family members now.
That's sort of the thing, is that Tommy may want to act tough and hard and all this sort of stuff.
He is tough and hard.
Okay, well, he
can care too. That's what's great about the Tommy character. Yeah. There's all these different facets to him.
Yeah, it's sort of like, sure, he did to Holly what he did to Holly, but later on, he did feel bad about it.
He did.
It
weighs on him.
He's got all these different layers to him. And, this character JP, who is this half brother, we don't know that much about him, but I do agree that I think that the presence of some element of family and some connectivity to his past, I think that does appeal to him, because I was wondering going into this show, it's like, okay, how are they going to make this show kind of connect to the mythology of power other than just Tommy being in a new city? And for a long time, my theory was, okay, 2-Bit is going to show up, because 2-Bit was just like completely conspicuously absent from book 2, season 2 for no apparent reason. I thought it was because he was over here.
I think he's still going to end up showing up somewhere. I mean, IMDb is wrong a lot, but he's listed as part of the cast.
Oh, look at you doing the...
because I was curious about that too. But I mean, as I said, IMDb, it can be, edited by anybody. It is wrong a lot. I have a movie on there as well. Somebody edited it to say that it cost $1 million and it didn't. And I know that it didn't. And take it with a grain of salt.
I just think for now, understanding a little bit more of Tommy's family history, at least like other parts of it, maybe it would help. That scene with him and his grandmother, I just kept wanting his grandmother to say something more other than just his name. But even just her saying the name was just heart-wrenching to me.
No, it was great. That moment that she actually recognized the name, took a moment, was able to sort of look at him and recognize him. I mean, I think even if there wasn't the half brother, I think that moment would have been enough to keep him there. I don't necessarily think he's just staying because, Walter Flynn is like, get out of my city. And he's like, well, all right. No, I'm going to stay. I think it really is a lot deeper than just, I want to not do what people tell me to do.
Yeah, there's all these different things that are sort of going on in his head. So since you mentioned Walter Flynn here, we'll talk a little bit about this new family, the Tejadas of Power Book 4, if you will.
Yeah, sort of. This just feels a little more like I really like the Tejadas. They don't feel like they are a crime family, but they're not like, this feels more like the mob, like a mobby crime family, which I'll be honest is like one of my least favorite genres of TV movies. I'm not into mob crime family type stuff. However, Walter Flynn is really interesting. I'm already in. I mean, I love that actor. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, you have my attention.
Yeah, like the casting, I think, does a lot here.
Yes, it does.
And, Walter Flynn, okay, he's obviously He's tough. He is very much all about the business. He's clearly got some misogynistic tendencies. I think we can say that definitively.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange. That whole scene with his daughter where he's kind of like, you take care of me and you take care of the books because look at these fists. You can't punch anybody. I'm just like, Vic isn't really punching anybody either. Your son is using a gun. I feel like Claudia can use a gun too. Anybody can point and shoot. Like, it was just a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, here's a list of other things that Claudia could use that could also achieve the same effect. A sword, nunchucks. Like I don't know.
What is happening?
I'm
over
just saying
here?
there are a lot of different weapons that do not involve your fist that could do the job. So shut up, Walter. You're gonna have. Listen.
It's very interesting that sword and nunchucks are what not a knife, not something else. It's
Listen,
nunchucks.
I
very
loved
difficult to figure out how to use.
I loved Ninja Turtles, okay? And that was a key weapon of choice over there. So Claudia is apparently like the somewhat business-minded person in this organization. You know, I think I've seen this actress before on Ray Donovan and a couple of other things. And, you know, she's intriguing enough, but she's also one of these sort of people where it feels like they're kind of just keeping her at arm's length from us.
I just feel like we've just seen a character like this with Kane over on book 2, where it's like he has a role to play, but he's able to do a lot more if they trusted him or gave him a chance to prove himself. Yeah, he's a wild card, but that doesn't mean that he can't rein it in and figure it out if he was given more of a shot, but no one's going to give him a shot. And now we're over here, and Walter, same thing with Claudia. She wants to do more. She feels like she's capable of more. Father won't give her a shot. And it's a story that we have seen before on multiple shows. It's not just Power.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this episode, it is very much like, okay, we're kind of following a somewhat by-the-book sort of crime guidebook, and maybe we'll differ from it a little bit later on down the road. I will say, I liked the introduction and the meeting between Vic and Tommy for a couple of different reasons. For starters, it seems like 90% of all of Tommy's fights have to do with where he can put his car and where he cannot put his car. I loved him pulling the gun on the guy with the knife early on in the episode. And that guy with the knife was like, "Oh bleep, I gotta do something now."
No, it was good.
I also
funny.
I also really like that apparently Vic thinks that a New York accent and a Boston accent are the same exact thing. Starts like telling off Tom Brady, and apparently that's okay with Tommy. Don't mess with Larry Bird, though.
No, there were some good laughs in this. I was pretty happy about that.
You know why Tommy was so pro Larry Bird?
Okay, I'll know.
Tommy's from New York, and he's had to deal with the Knicks his whole life. He needs somebody from another team to be able to
Please
cheer
don't
for.
have some time.
They set the Knicks joke up too much in this episode. I just gotta say that.
Yeah.
I also did kind of enjoy all right, ultimately Tommy takes over for one of Vic's goons, gets himself right in the midst of this sort of standoff. Like, this is where Tommy really shines to me.
Yeah, that whole standoff of sort of like, okay, we have these guys over here. We have the CBI, who we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
We have everything that's going on with the Flynn family. It was a good sort of, Tommy's got himself right in the middle of everybody who's fighting with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't really know why or who set that whole thing up, where everyone was like, wait a second, you're here, why are we all here, okay, who did this to us, that kind of thing. But it put Tommy in a good position but bad position, because he did end up gaining the respect of, Vic.
Yeah.
He
got something out of it. It's just
somewhat.
So this is sort of the funny thing about it is he does
Gennard.
Yeah, he meets Gennard, he's there with Vic, and I think he earned maybe like a little bit of trust, but at the same time, he's totally still a free agent. And so I don't think either one of them can come out of that thinking, oh, for sure, Tommy is on my side. It feels like okay, if you want someone with Tommy's particular set of skills, you're going to have to go and then dump a bunch of money at his doorstep and try to figure out exactly how to work with them. And I think Tommy's probably good for playing like these sort of, inter-rival politics.
Yeah, when we saw him at the end get brought over to Walter Flynn's house, I was worried that they were going to offer him a job. I
Yeah.
was just like, this can't happen this early. If he doesn't tell Tommy to get out of Chicago or
Yeah.
else, then I was going to be all the way out on Walter Flynn. But he tells him to get out of Chicago or else. So I was pretty happy about that. It worked out exactly the way that it should. I mean, despite that he saved Vic's life, at the same time, he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And Walter knows it.
Yeah, everyone knows that Tommy is clearly a problem, and I think they're all well aware of the fact that okay, we don't need this level of mess, this level of unpredictability to go along with what we're doing. I like the meeting with Tommy and Walter Flynn just in the way of how it looked. Like I even think the
Oh,
show
yeah.
is doing a really good job of sort of setting up and painting the picture of Chicago. I mean, I've been to Chicago a few times around downtown, and there is sort of this like romantic quality to it, but also this sort of danger that's also kind of there. I remember one time I got lost like 30 minutes in like the underground area of Chicago, and I was just thinking the whole time, oh my God, what is about to happen to me?
No, I like that Chicago is a character
Yeah.
in this story. It kind of reminds me of Sex and the City for any of you who watched that. They had New York as a character on the show, and it very much felt like that here as well. That Chicago is very much part of the fabric of the show.
All right, let's talk about our other new characters here.
Mhm.
We met Diamond early on, and one of the things that we learned about Diamond is, he's very good at he's very good in the hair care business. Like
Mhm.
we see that the barber shop's gonna be effectively upfront a little bit later on. It's been set up for him. Gennard, his brother, he kind of kept the business going while Diamond was locked up.
Yeah, and it seems, I mean, just sort of first impressions when we saw him in jail, that he's got the respect of a lot of people. Even when he was leaving and he was talking to the guard, they were like, yeah, we all put in and we bought you this hair care set so that when you go out there, we're not going to see you again in here. You're going to go out there and you're going to do a great job. I was like, okay, so right away, he's a person that can gain respect from people. He's able to do it in a way that, isn't underhanded. He's just kind of a genuine dude.
I think what will make this sort of battle between these two groups a little bit interesting moving forward is that it seems like the CBI is a little bit more kind of on the ground level and that they have a better understanding of maybe like the social dynamics that are going on in the city. Whereas Walter Flynn has all this money, he's got like the fancy palace, he can kind of just like flex his muscles, but I don't think anyone really relates to him. I don't think anyone is going to want to do him a helping hand. Whereas Diamond is so skilled at like winning people over. He's got
Mhm.
people working at the prison rooting for him.
Yeah. And it was interesting too with his conversation with his brother, where Diamond's kind of like, yeah, I feel like now that I'm on the other side of this, I want to do things a little bit differently for the CBI. Where his brother's kind of like, I'll come back a little bit later and we'll talk about this again. Cause, you haven't been here in like, I think it was 15 years or something. Like it was a
Yeah.
very long time. And then we saw this cop roll in and be like, hey, can I get a haircut? Also, I know who you are, which is basically what he was showing up to be like. I know who you are.
Yeah.
And so you know who I am. I will be around.
Yeah, I thought all of that was played out really well because it's like after he shows him the badge, he's still then, oh yeah, by the way, can I still come for a haircut in a couple of days? And it was, I think a lot of the characters here are going to be interesting. The real issue with this episode is mostly just, ironically, it comes on right after the finale of book 2. So we have all just got off of this really, really big high of this super big, crazy episode with all these characters that we know. And then we're getting thrown right into a world full of people we don't know with
Mhm.
a character who we do love. And, I mean, a lot more people love Tommy than they do Tariq, but it is a situation where it's gonna take some time, I think, to really kind of feel immersed in this.
Yeah, I mean, even the love interest, Gloria, I'm assuming she's going to be the love interest. We saw that she has some sort of a relationship with Vic.
Yeah.
She's hooked up with Tommy. And of course, Tommy and Vic have problems already.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's going to turn into an ongoing problem.
Well, this episode hopefully will carry into a lot of other great stuff, and we
Yep.
will be here, of course, to talk all about Force. Now, may the Force be with all of you guys. Thank you for watching,
goodness.
and we will see you here next time.